Because of the monster drought, the West is on fire. It is wildfire season, and it is a brutal one. Today we're talking about the things that you need to do to make sure you can keep your family safe. Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene, and today Jonathan and I are actually incredibly sad. In the state of Utah right now, we have a huge problem with wildfires brought on by the conditions from the drought, and there's just a whole lot of fuel out there and thousands of acres burning.
And this hits especially home today because our friends lost their bug out location, their recreation site that they'd used with their family, they'd built over many years, and it's all gone.
Wildfires move incredibly fast, so we have to prepare in advance. We were out camping. We love camping with our family. And one year we were up in the mountains camping, and all of a sudden there started coming all of this ash, like huge flakes of this ash coming towards our campground. And one of the things that was really scary for us at that time is that the place where we camp, there's no cell service. So we can't just look up and find where the fire's coming, what direction, are we safe? I mean, we're up in the mountains. In today's video, we are going to talk about wildfire safety and evacuation. And we hope that this will bless some lives. But the main point we want to drive home right now is that wildfire is incredibly dangerous. It moves so fast. One of the cities that was in danger here in Utah was Eureka. It's a small town, and there were a lot of miracles actually that saved that town. But when the evacuation order came, it was get ready, go. Like they had no time.
Don't stop for any reason. Get in your car and go now.
The first thing that we need to do in our wildfire preps is to make sure that we stay informed. So sign up with either your local, whether it's your city or county emergency management agency, and make sure that you are part of whatever their notification system is. A lot of times they'll use a third-party notification system, such as Code Red, Smart 911, or Everbridge. Just make sure that you've taken the time to sign up in advance. One of the things that we have to help us stay in touch is an app called Watch Duty. It's free. You don't need to pay anything for it, but it's been incredibly helpful because I can go in here and I can click on the fire, and it'll tell me like the iron fire, 37,000 acres burned and only 17% contained. So it helps us to be able to track. There's also evacuation like here, but sometimes in your local areas, you're going to have local apps that you'll need to sign up for in order to get the information that you need. But do that now, well before you need it. There are certain wireless emergency alerts, kind of like the Amber Alerts that you get, that you don't have to sign up for. But there are a lot that you do, so you need to look into that for you and your situation.
The next thing we want to discuss is your evacuation plan. And again, this is not something you're going to put together on the fly. This is something you're doing right now because you need to have that written, you need to practice, and everyone involved needs to be a part of those practices. You need a destination where you're going to go, and you need to notify those people and make sure that they're going to be aware that you may be coming to their place. Now, this is all done in advance. You know, wherever that is, a family member, of course, you may end up in a public shelter, you may end up in a hotel somewhere. We don't have to bury ourselves in minutia, but we can have some general plans and some idea of where we will go. And of course, we need a communication plan. One of the things that we want to emphasize is have an out-of-area contact and text that person and have everyone text that person to make sure that contact can happen.
Because chances are you won't all be together at the same time. We need a plan A and a plan B. We need to make sure that you have at least 2 routes out of your neighborhood in case you can't go one route. Work on that plan. Super important. In fact, we have a post that we wrote on this, so I will leave it in the link below that'll have some really good ideas for things that might help you in developing your plan. Now, the third thing that we need are go bags or survival kits or 72-hour kits or whatever you want to call them. We want to make sure that we have food and water and important medications, clothing, things that are going to make you more comfortable when you leave, if you're not able to come back, one of the very important things to always have in it is an extra set of keys, because you may not be able to leave in your vehicle or something could happen, but keys to your bug out location, wherever you're going, keys to your vehicle, make sure that you have extra sets in there. Now, the other thing I wanted to just mention that we forgot to was use a public shelter as your last resort. Do everything you can to plan not to be in a public shelter, because they are suboptimal, as my children would say. One of the things that I have in mind is my game changer, right? So that I make sure that I'll be able to sleep. Because if I'm sleeping on somebody else's couch or in somebody else's house, I want to make sure that I have what I need to be comfortable. One of the other things that I think is really important is the first aid kit. And we need more than just a boo-boo kit when something really bad is going down. And so we have a Jace case, their Jace Aid, and it has everything from an O2 sat monitor where we can find out the oxygen level, to a stethoscope, to all kinds of things that you might need in a true emergency. And so that would definitely be going with us. All of this is kept in our front entry closet. And on the door, we have posted a list of last minute items, because depending on what we're evacuating for and the time of year and all kinds of different circumstances, there are other items that we're gonna need to get. And adrenaline makes your brain numb and you can't think, but you can follow a list if you've thought it through in advance. And so that's really important. The fourth area is critical documents. In this binder, you notice it's a zip around binder, so nothing can fall out, but all of our critical documents are organized in this. Now, normally, this is not kept in my hall closet. We keep this in a secure location, but it doesn't look like something that's overly important. So if you were coming to rob us, you'd probably just overlook this altogether. Some of the things that I have in here are keys. I want them in here to our bug out location, to whatever we need. I have digital copies of my important family photos that I don't ever want to lose. I have our medical records, our financial records. I have insurance documents. I have everything I need to prove that we exist and that this existed. In here, I also have our house inventory, so that if we need to file an insurance claim, that it's here and we have everything that we need to prove what we had if it's gone.
Number 5 is vehicle readiness. Now, the standard rule is you keep your gas tank half full. Well, for me, it's now 2/3. We changed that a couple of years ago because I'm an engineer and I think, okay, yeah, maybe I have to fill up a little more often, but I like having that little extra cushion. Running out of gas someplace on your evacuation route is maybe even more dangerous than just staying home. So make sure you have your gas tank at least half full. If you want to go by my rule, 2/3 full. Another thing that would be important in the event of an escalating crisis is backing your vehicle into your garage, partly so that you can load it probably more easily, but more importantly so that you can get out of there as fast as possible with everything you need and get going in the direction you need to go. Of course, you're going to have all the things we've talked about, your bags, your documents, all these things ready to go
Loaded.
as soon as that pre-evacuation notice is given.
So much better to load it all in the car and not have to leave than to have waited and not be able to take your stuff because it's not in the car.
Yeah.
Number 6, we have got to know our evacuation levels and what it means. And we want to walk through this with our family and especially our kids, because this can be a really scary time and we want to make sure that we understand it. So pretty much there's a ready, a set, and a go. The pre-evacuation notice is it's time to get ready. We want to load your vehicle, gather your possessions. An evacuation warning means set, it's time to leave. And so you can just make your way to your destination. You don't have to hurry, you don't have to go crazy, but evacuation warning, it's time to leave. Now, evacuation order is you've got to go. You don't have time to put anything in your car, you have got to leave immediately. And it was interesting in hearing from some of our friends in Eureka, it happened like fast. It was, okay, ready? Uh-oh, set, go. And they just had to leave. And you don't have a choice. You don't get to choose to stay when there's an evacuation order going on. So you know, it's best if you just decide in advance you're going to do, get your plan, and be ready.
Yeah. Time is of the essence, and you know, sometimes you'd be much better off to go earlier and not have to fight crowds and all kinds of traffic issues. So just think about all these things as you create your plan.
Now let's talk a little bit about last minute home prep. So if you have time, there's some things that you could really do that would make a difference. One of the first things I would do is I would leave a note inside my front door or in my front window that had my contact information and my out of state information, so that the firefighters or anybody who needs to would know where to contact us if they need us. I would turn off all HVAC and any appliances that aren't necessary. I'd leave my freezer plugged in and my refrigerator, but I would unplug everything else so that it's not a draw. But I would leave on my interior and my exterior lights, because when it's really smoky, that light might help the firemen to be able to see.
A couple of other things that might be important is get any combustibles in a place where they're either far away or protected by the structure. Of course, if your structure goes up, everything's going up. But if you can get rid of as many combustibles as possible, you will also want to shut off your natural gas or your propane.
One of the other things you might want to think about doing is to move all your furniture into the center of the house along with your curtains, away from the windows. Maybe that would be helpful, maybe it wouldn't. But do everything you can to make sure that your house is as safe as possible. Number 8, it would be really important to dress to evacuate, because you don't know what you're going to find between your house and your safe destination. So make sure that you have on your leather gloves. Johnny always keeps leather gloves, right?
I do, but this would be difficult for me because I love my short pants. And really, if we're going to do this right, we're going to have long sleeves, we're going to have long pants, good shoes, all the things that we're going to need, including an N95 mask.
These should be in your emergency kit.
These should definitely have a good supply of these, as well as flashlights or headlamps or headlamps. All of these kinds of things are things that you need to think about and put in your plan and prepare for.
All right, let's talk about our pets, our animals, because it's super important that we take care of them too. As soon as you know something's going on, it's a good idea to go find them and put them in their little porters, because at the last minute, when you get that evacuation order, you can't go find them if they've wandered off, and this can be really scary for them. Get them as soon as you can. Make sure you have an emergency kit for them that has food and water and a leash and something to clean up after them. If you have large animals, you need to take care of those right away, because there really isn't time once this starts to go crazy.
Number 10 is reduce your risk now.
Before fire season ever starts, it's a really good idea to prepare your home. That means we don't have piles of limbs or brush or any kind of lawn clippings or anything like that around that could pose a fire hazard. We want to make sure that we trim low-hanging branches and aggressively prune anything that is really close to your home. We want to make sure that we limit the fuel source for the fire near your home. And then work with your neighbors, because a home within 100 feet of another home could ignite each other. So if
Isn't that crazy?
It is so crazy. So if you are helpful to your neighbor and you guys work together, the chances of a successful fire season will be greater. And that's another thing about the Eureka fire, is that the community got together and they worked not just on their house, but they worked to build this fire break around the town.
Number 11 is work with your insurance company to make sure you understand your coverages. Make sure that wildfire is a covered peril. And then we talked about the home inventory. All that doesn't do as much good if you don't have a home inventory to say, yeah, this is what we have, this is our home, this is our possessions.
And all you have to do is take your cell phone and walk through your house and just video everything. Video, you know, serial numbers if you can, but make sure that you've got that. Then upload it to the cloud, put a copy in something like this with your important documents so that you've got what you need to prove what you had, because we've had experience with the insurance companies and, you know, they're not always that interested in my welfare.
That is true.
Let's talk about what to do if You're not ordered to evacuate, but there's a lot of smoke. Now, smoke can be very, very dangerous for especially the young, the elderly, and anyone that is immune compromised with any health challenges. So you want to stay indoors and keep your windows closed. But if it's too hot and you are not comfortable doing that, now's a good time to go ahead and close up shop and go to some place where it is safe and you don't have to worry about the smoke. Because where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
And you want to just make sure that you're out of it and not taking any risks.
Yeah. We decided today that we would, instead of doing our walks, which we love,
yeah,
we were exercising downstairs just because the smoke is not good for us. It's not healthy. And it was thick enough out there that we just decided, yeah, this is an inside day.
Yeah. We've got to decide right now and make plans. We've got to get ready because stuff can be replaced, lives can't. But if we have a plan in place and we are ready to go, we're going to do so much better.
So as we wrap this up, we're feeling a lot of sadness right now.
Yeah.
Because of these fires and the damage that they've done, and especially as they have hit close to home with people that we love and care about. This is important. And so for the question of the day, have you lived through a wildfire? And if so, tell us your story and tell us the things that we have missed, things that we can do that will make it so that we all get through this better, because our community truly matters. Whatever community that is, our neighbors, our friends, and all of us together. Let's all work together to make sure that we can get through this the best way we can. Many thanks for being part of the solution.